The Amazon's still burning. Since the fires began, more than 11,000 square miles of forest have burned down. A historic record since satellite monitoring started. We came across this fire on the roadside. It was surrounded by cattle farms. Ranches might be the main cause of deforestation in the Amazon. But there is another serious threat to the forest, encouraged by Bolsonaro's new policies, and no one is talking about it. Illegal gold mining. Since Jair Bolsonaro won the elections in Brazil, the price of gold has increased by nearly 50%.
Aqui é muito pouco, os pessoal que tem dinheiro para investir é muito pouco ainda, não tem muito investimento.
Alan has been working at this mine for 20 years. He voted for Bolsonaro in the hope that he would legalize his operation.
Hoje o nosso país aqui tem uma carência muito grande. Eu acho que só assim, né, de estar explorando, né, os nossos minérios, vai dar muito emprego, né? Então isso aí vai ajudar toda a população. Todos querem que regulariza para pagar seus impostos certinho.
Recently, Bolsonaro passed a decree preventing the environmental authorities from destroying the miners' machinery. Before, they were either confiscated or blown up. This encouraged thousands of miners.
All these men voted for Bolsonaro. They've been in the shadows for years, and he promised them the possibility of incorporating themselves into the system and start paying taxes. For them, it's really good news, but for the environment, it's catastrophic.
Most of the workers are poor migrants from other parts of Brazil. They get 30% of whatever they find. The process for gold extraction is simple. The earth is hosed with pressurized water, then pumped to a long sieve. Here the minerals left are then separated with mercury and arsenic to get the gold. The remains end up in these toxic pools. Nothing will ever grow back here.
Sim, muito duro e muito arriscado também.
Por quê?
Mas tem que encarar, né? Barranco deslizando, tá vendo? Muito perigoso, mas a gente tem que encarar, senão não tem o dinheiro para sustentar a família. É por isso que eu tô aqui.
Você, qual é o sonho de você?
Dá de sonhar alto. Achar ouro bom, fé em Deus, encontrar ouro.
It cost around $10,000 to set up this illegal operation. In 1 month, this mine can produce nearly 10 kilos of gold, worth almost $500,000, most of which is sold abroad.
E você tem ouro aqui que pode mostrar?
Tem
bem?
um pouco aqui.
Quantos gramas é isso?
Esse aqui tem a faixa de umas 3 gramas de ouro. Só que isso aqui já é a pipitinha do jeito que é tirado da terra, entendeu?
3 gramas de ouro em dinheiro, quanto é isso?
Isso aqui vai dar R$500.
Much of the world sees the Amazon as an important counterweight to fight climate change. But for most of those living here, the uncomfortable truth is that they see destruction as the only means of survival.
We know scientists say we need to radically reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and quickly to avert the impacts of global warming. We also know scientists say that methane is a big contributor. It's released into the atmosphere during the process of drilling. But now what the Trump administration is saying is slightly different. It's saying methane is valuable, and so the oil and gas industry has an incentive to minimise leaks and maximise its use, leaving it to them, if you like. The Environmental Protection Agency is now proposing to roll back, throw away its federal regulations on those companies limiting the methane emissions. You might think less federal regulation issues. Well, perhaps the industry would welcome that, but not necessarily. Some of the world's biggest fossil fuel companies are actually opposing this suggested rollback, saying they agree with the bigger picture of trying to limit these methane emissions. Less surprisingly, environmentalists are against the rollback as well. There are already plans to take this move to court. And consider this tally from the New York Times: 84 and counting. That's how many US environmental policies, including the Paris Climate Change Agreement, were implemented by President Barack Obama that have been reversed by President Donald Trump.
It is vital for us to work together. This is going to be a big problem for everybody.
A powerful greenhouse gas, methane is one of the main pollutants scientists link to climate change. So, on his way out of office, President Barack Obama enforced unprecedented limits on methane emissions from oil and gas wells.
Together, we're going to move swiftly to establish comprehensive standards to meet that goal.
But it's President Donald Trump in charge of the Environmental Protection Agency now, and just as he's done with many of his predecessors' policies, he's proposing to roll back those limits.
I mean, my message for him is just listen to the science, and he obviously doesn't do that.
We love you, Greta! Welcome, Greta! It won't come as a surprise to 16-year-old Greta Thunberg, who arrived in Manhattan yesterday on a solar-powered sailboat after 2 weeks crossing the Atlantic. But she's not here to talk to Donald Trump. She's here to talk to the American public, to thank those who welcome her and change the minds of those who don't. Greta left Plymouth 15 days ago on the Militia 2 with her dad and a small crew. She didn't want to fly over the Atlantic. This way, it's a zero-carbon journey. But for a novice sailor, it was a rough ride. Yeah! When she finally got off, she was unsteady, exhausted, but adored.
All of this is very overwhelming, and the ground is still shaking for me. It is insane that a 16-year-old have to cross the Atlantic Ocean to make a stand. And this, of course, is not something that I want everyone to do.
While she sailed, the Amazon burned.
Even on a sailboat in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, I heard about the forest in the Amazon. I mean, this is a clear sign that we need to stop destroying nature, and our war against nature must end.
As one journey ends for Greta, another begins here in the States. It is one of the world's biggest polluters, which makes her mission of drawing attention to climate change all the more pressing in this country. She'll attend the United Nations General Assembly Climate Summit later this month. Tomorrow, she'll strike outside its headquarters. A teenager who began her campaign protesting in Sweden alone is now surrounded wherever she goes. Thousands of young activists here are lining up to stand by her side and fight for a future they're trying to save.